Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving break. And as we roll forward into the last couple of weeks of the class, let's look at that final assignment, kind of the capstone assignment, if you will. And if you haven't had a chance to look at this yet, you'll probably be spending some time on this week. It's worth 200 points, and it incorporates a lot of the writing you've been doing all semester. Yeah, you'll have to do some new writing, but probably the lion's share of it will be about your sources, the nature of your wicked problem, the root causes, all of that. And that'll get you there as far as the number of paragraphs. But the whole focus this time is what I've warned you away from doing so far until that last short assignment on a potential solution. Now you're right smack in the middle of it, a solution. So if you look down here at the first instruction, take that hypothesis you worked on, polish it up a little bit, and after you have an introductory paragraph under your original title, end it with that hypothesis. That will give you a blueprint for the rest of the essay, which you're going to obviously talk about your root causes, some symptoms if you want. Be sure to not mix them up and identify one from the other as either a symptom or a root cause, just to keep it all straight. And your solution should come out of the root causes. Now, this is due December 19th, but a draft is due coming up pretty soon. Next Monday, in fact. And the draft should be about a good 5 paragraphs at least that cover the important bits here that I'm going to discuss. So this will help you get that introductory paragraph going. I've kind of set it as a step-by-step approach. And then you've got that sell the solution. Remember that discussion you did on persuasion, rational persuasion, where you use ethos, pathos, logos that Chevalier talked about in that chapter? Well, you don't need to use those by name, but you definitely need to appeal to your readers' emotions, their ability to see the logic of your solution, and the credibility you've established using your sources and the fact that you spent some time on this. So that's kind of new, added to what you've already done in the class so far. And here's something super new. Now, if you remember, there is chapter 6 in They Say, I Say that talks about counter-argument. And somewhere in your essay, could be the second paragraph, could be the next to the last paragraph, not the last paragraph though, where you come up with a reason that a reader just might not be totally convinced. Someone could potentially disagree with you or at least be skeptical. And once you explain why, finish the paragraph defending your solution. And this is MLA all the way this time, in-text page citations, first page format, page numbers on your essay's pages, all of that. You've got plenty to go on there, and you've all had a brush with it on the deeper look essay. Now we're going to go full on MLA. The appendix page. This also is a brand new item. It can be a photo, a chart, a table, or something visual that would not really fit in a paragraph, and it should explain something with a picture or with information that would have just made a paragraph impossible if you were to include all that, and it's better said with a picture or an image, chart, table, and so on. And that will be under a page titled Appendix, and it'll be just before your works cited page, after the page after your last paragraph. Then, and this is for later, after your draft comes due and you get responses, as you're finishing this up, you're going to use an AI application like Copilot or one of the others, and ask the same questions you're going to ask on your draft next week, and see how it does compared to the human readers, which will be your classmates this time. I know I read your drafts last time. This time, your classmates who have all been through this class with you, and take my word for it, they're pretty smart people, can help you out a little bit. And I'll explain that as we get into the essay Q&A project next week. But that's where you will use an AI application. And don't plan on doing it in a way that will cost you money. There are ways to do a starter or guest or some way of getting in there as a guest, or some way to get in there free so you don't have to pay any money. But more on that later. And be really careful not to copy and paste into your essay. I will check. And I'm giving you a way to end your essay, a conclusion paragraph that follows along the lines of how experienced writers conclude major pieces of writing. Also, new stuff, trimming your quotations. Use these ... You've probably seen them before. The correct way to using these, they're called ellipses, is they're to signal a reader that you've omitted something that really didn't need saying, that you were just using part of a quotation to make your point. And of course, most of the time, you'll be paraphrasing, even though you still need page numbers, because that had a source. Good rule of thumb is quote seldom, paraphrase often. But when something really is quotable, ellipses will help you keep it down to 4 or fewer sentences. And of course, you know about introducing quotations. Okay? Remember that we do have discussions and reading questions this week. And if you have any questions about the assignment other than those, take a look at the discussions page. And as I've said a few times, go to the chat room if you have a question, and you will pick up a few points for doing that. Have a great week. I hope this gets you jump started into the final weeks of the semester.